Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I just turned 30 a few weeks ago, and so today's video is going to be 20 things that I learned in my 20s that I wish, maybe I would have learned a little bit earlier, so I'm going to share them all with you. Number 11, this kind of correlates back to the all emotions are valid thing, but if somebody tells you that you hurt them or that you made them feel fill in the blank, even if that was not your intention or you don't understand why they feel like that, that does not mean that they shouldn't feel that way. There is a lot of times when people just get super defensive. Like if you hurt somebody's feelings and you didn't mean to, you can get defensive and just start throwing up like, well, that shouldn't have made you mad. I don't understand why that made you mad. Like that doesn't matter. It did make them mad. It did upset them. That's the way they feel. Understand that, figure out what you need to do to move on from that or mend that. Yeah, because the same thing could happen flip-flop. Like they could say something that unintentionally hurts you, and it's just a really good thing to understand that even if you didn't intentionally make somebody feel something, like they're allowed to feel whatever they need to feel. Um even if you don't understand it. Number 12 is something that I actually heard online, and like it's just forever stuck with me. And by forever, I mean like whenever I heard it. But it is to never beg for a seat at a table that Jesus would have flipped over. And for those of you who don't know the story, there's a story in the Bible where Jesus goes into a church and he gets mad because they are doing things in the church that don't glorify God. And so he starts flipping tables and he gets angry. And so I just know that there have been different times in my life where I've been sad or felt left out or um lonely, I guess. And so I've looked for things or looked for groups of people or whatever the thing may be, like whatever that table may be. Like I wanted a seat so bad. Just make sure that that's something that, glorifies God and that is actually good for you, because I just know how it feels like when you're lonely or when you're sad or hurt. I know what it feels like to just like jump towards the first thing that offers you a seat. Just be wary of that, because you could sit down at that table and then like if you would have just kept walking, there could have been a front row seat somewhere. So just keep that in mind, that there are difficult seasons, and yeah, just be very aware of the seat that you're taking. All right, number 13 is just because something has been true about you, about something in your past, does not mean that it has to be true in your future. Now, this can range from serious things to not serious things. So, like, one of the serious things was as I was growing up, I never wanted to live in my hometown. I live a mile and a half, 2 miles ish from the house that I grew up in. Like I moved away and I came back and I'm so happy. I love living here. I love living close to my parents. I love the town that I'm in. And like we talk about it all the time. Like it's just really funny that I ended up back here where that was like always where I wanted to be. Like again, um like I didn't want kids. Now I want, like I wanted my daughter. We tried for my daughter, and like there are just things, like it doesn't have to be as serious as that. Like another thing is like growing up I hated the color pink. Now I actually kind of like the color pink, and there are certain things that I buy in pink because that I wouldn't have even looked at, specifically because for the only reason that it was pink. I wouldn't have even looked at it years ago, and now like that's the reason I like it. So like it doesn't have to be super serious things, but I just think that people can get set in their ways of, oh, well, how I am, or, talking about who somebody was like 10 years ago. And like, I just know even in the 3 years that I've had my daughter, I'm a completely different person. So it's not necessarily fair to hold people to standards that you had for them 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. What was true about you at one point in time doesn't mean that that has to be true about you for the rest of your life, and you don't have to carry that into the future with you if it's something that you don't want to carry in the future with you. And I just think that that's something that needs to be said out loud. Number 14, it's okay if your house looks like people live in it. This is something that my husband tells me all the time. Especially if we're having people over, I like frantically clean and like put everything away. And like there's a difference between like having a clean, like picked up house and then like I literally want there to be like no sign that we live here and do activities here. Like I want every single thing to be put away so that everything's aesthetically pleasing and um, that's just not always going to happen. There's just a little bit of us laying around, and that's okay. And it took me a really long time to get there. However, once I got there, holidays that we host became a lot less stressful. Like it's like a whole weight just was like lifted off my shoulders when I realized that people expect your houses to look like you live in them. Number 15 is something that is a lot less serious than some of the ones we've already talked about. And that is when people tell you that like water is like this whole magical thing, like being hydrated is great. Believe them. Because the older that you get, the more that you will realize that they are right and that you really should be drinking a lot of water and you will feel a ton better. Because, yeah, when you're, younger than me, you can do whatever you want. You can eat whatever you want. You can drink whatever you want. And like, yeah, you might be, if you drink alcohol, you might be a little hungover the next morning or like whatever. But like, then you hit this age where like you'll have like a glass of wine and the next morning you'll be like, why do I feel like crap? And then you realize like, oh, it's going to be dehydrated and I'm old now. So stay hydrated, my friends. Number 16 is that no matter how smart you think you are, you can always be smarter. And I just I don't know. There's not really anything that I need to add to that, but like you can always learn more. You can always know more, understand more. Not necessarily even like school, but I just mean like in general. You should just continuously be trying to learn new things in XYZ, whatever the things are that interest you. That's all. All right, so the next one is that just because something is good for you doesn't mean that it's good for you. And what I mean by this is like just because you know, there's a way and there are people that do it and more power to them where like everything that they do is a healthy choice. They eat the right foods, they do the right exercises, they do the right things. And yes, that makes them healthy. They might live a lot longer, blah, blah, blah. But if you're doing something that is supposedly healthy, but it's making you absolutely miserable, like it might not be good for you. Like it might not be the best choice. And also, even if like, and I'm not talking about like serious medical things, like if you have like a dairy intolerance or like you're allergic to something or you have some health thing that doing XYZ will make it better, by all means, do those things. I'm talking about like, for me, for example, I love pop. And I am fully aware that it is better for me to never drink pop again. But I love pop. And, if I just really want one and it's going to make me really sad or irritable or angry to not have the pop, like, I'm just going to get the pop. Or like if you love your morning coffee, but caffeine is not necessarily the best for you, but you're miserable without your morning coffee and you don't do decaf, just drink the coffee. Like sometimes the benefit is not worth the other side of it. And again, I'm not talking about like super serious issues. Like everything in the world has like a healthier alternative. And like sometimes it's not worth the healthy alternative. Like just do what you love. Do the thing you love. That's all. Just my opinion. Number 19, most problems in life are not as big of a problem or as life ending as you think that they are. Now, don't get me wrong, some of them are. Some problems are very important, significant things. I understand that. Most of the things, and this is coming from somebody who I have really bad anxiety and I overthink things all the time. I get really bad anxiety about basically everything in life. I like somebody like I was doing, we have to do this health thing for work, and like one of the questions is like, how often are you stressed? And like, I don't ever know how to answer the question because my baseline is stressed. But it can get worse from there. So like if I'm not stressed, that typically means that I'm so stressed that I've decided to just not think about anything at all. Like me not stressed is really what you need to worry about more so than me stressed. And I'm fully aware that that is not a healthy way to be, but that's just it's where I'm at right now. I'm working on it, I'm reading the books, trying to figure it out. But that's just where I'm at. Like I start at stressed and go up from there. And so, I mean, I answer it that I'm stressed every day because I feel like I don't have to feel like there's probably something that I can do to not be stressed every day. I just haven't done it or don't know what to do. But yeah, so that said, if you're not somebody who has really bad anxiety, then this probably doesn't matter to you because you don't really think that your life has a lot of problems if you're not super stressed and anxious about every single thing. Like my husband tells me all the time that I like because when I there's something that I'm worried about or something that's happening that I'm stressed about, I try to think out every single path. Like every single thing that could happen, I try to prepare myself for. And so he told me, he's like, you spend so much time and energy thinking about all these things that have never happened. Whereas if you don't do that and you just see what actually happens and then react, you have that much more energy to actually put towards what's actually happening. And as much as I totally agree, and I think that that's great advice, I'm very bad at it. So we'll work towards this one together. Most things are not as big of a problem as you're making them out to be. And even if it is a big problem, usually they are temporary. Usually, not all. I understand, not all. But usually it's temporary. And I've lost track of my numbers, so the next one is it's okay to not be the smartest person in the room. Um, Actually, in my mind, if you are always constantly the smartest person in the room, you're not really going into the right rooms because again, it goes back to I think that you can always be smarter. So it's okay if you don't know something or if somebody is talking about something and you don't know what they're talking about, it's okay to ask them about it. Like, maybe come prepared if you're the one that's supposed to know that and then they're coming to you. Like, maybe show up prepared. But that said, like, especially like in my job, I just feel like there are times when you can tell that the person doesn't know what you're talking about, or even, me. Like, there's times I go into a meeting and I don't know what they're talking about. I feel like I should, but I don't. The proper response is to not act like I already know. The proper response is to ask the questions that I don't know so that way I can actually learn and actually participate in the conversation and learn and grow. And yeah. So, that said, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't have to know everything about everything all the time, or even most of the time. And then the last one, I actually I think I might have thrown an extra one in here. So we're at 20 or 21, okay? I'll know because when I'm editing, I'll know because I have numbers here. But the last one is that there are going to be times in life when you feel lost. And that is completely okay. Everybody has those feelings. And they don't stop like after you're a teenager or like right after college and you figure out your first job. Like, different stages of life is going to give you different stages of feeling lost, and totally okay. Like, that is part of, that's part of me, again, trying to be prepared for everything. And like, it's okay to not always know what you're doing. Just because you don't know what you're doing, just because you feel lost, doesn't mean that you're not going to get to a good destination. And that is really just what the point of this last one was, without my little ramble in there. But just keep that in mind. So this is me with the things that I've learned. I'm sure that in 10 years, I'll have a whole new set of things that I've learned. And I'm actually really excited for my 30s. Like, I really thought that I might have a hard time with it, but like, I'm actually really excited. Like, I'm excited that it's almost like a New Year's. Like, it's a new decade. Like, it's just, I don't know, I think it feels cool. I'm excited. So these were my tips. I hope that you enjoyed them. I hope that you got something out of them. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.